Hi, I'm Lauren Pierce. Drop a quick, hey, in the comments to let me know you're here. Or share where you're tuning in from. I'd love to see how far this story travels. If it resonates, hit subscribe. It helps voices like mine break through the noise. Now, let me pull you into a tale that starts with a whisper and ends with a roar. The glow of a single desk lamp cut through the darkness of my Arlington, Virginia apartment, casting shadows across a life I'd learned to keep quiet. The hum of late-night traffic seeped through the window, muffled by glass and time. In a drawer, half hidden under a scarf I hadn't touched in years, sat my old FBI badge. It caught the light tonight, daring me to remember who I'd been. My phone buzzed, slicing the silence. A text from my sister. Claire's getting honored at the federal gala. Mom wants you there. It's also Dad's 35th service anniversary. No greeting, no warmth, just a summons. Cold as a courtroom. I stared at it, then locked the screen. In the Pierce family, legacy wasn't just a word, it was a verdict. My father, Robert, had advised Homeland Security on counterterrorism. My mother, Diane, a decorated professor, had shelves of awards. And Claire, 32, a rising federal prosecutor, was the family's crown jewel. Her name sung like a prayer at every reunion. Me? I was the ghost they stopped mentioning. I was 38, once a star at the Justice Department, climbing fast until I joined the FBI. My record was spotless, my instincts sharper than most. But then came the Seattle incident, a hostage negotiation the press branded a failure, claiming I'd frozen. That my call cost a life. My family never asked for my side. They didn't yell or lecture, they just erased me. No Sunday calls, no seat at Thanksgiving, my name scrubbed from their story. But the truth? I wasn't fired or demoted. I was reassigned to lead Vanguard, a shadow unit answering only to the Attorney General, running ops so classified they didn't exist on paper. I faced the mirror, my reflection showing lines earned through silent battles. The eager smile of my youth was gone, replaced by a steel calm. No husband, no close friends, no one calling me Lori anymore. I was Director Pierce, Division 10-7. The gala invite wasn't about reconciliation, it was a test. I nodded at my reflection, not to prove them wrong, but to see if they'd recognize the woman I'd become. Cleveland's streets hadn't changed, shuttered shops, faded signs, a city clinging to its past. The Federal Plaza loomed ahead, its flag waving like a promise nobody questioned. I wore a black blouse and slacks. No insignia, no fanfare. I wasn't here to perform. The Federal Civic Hall gleamed, its polished floors reflecting a stream of dignitaries. No one waited for me. The reception table boasted a sign, honoring Claire Pierce and Robert Pierce. My name, absent, stung like a paper cut. The logistics aide squinted at his list. Ms. Pierce? Table 14. Overflow seating. I nodded, taking my place behind the coffee station. Steps from a trash bin. The whir of an espresso machine and the slosh of melting ice became my soundtrack. My table mates, a woman who'd tutored Claire in high school and an old classmate of hers who reintroduced himself twice, treated me like a stranger. To them, I was. The lights dimmed, and Claire took the stage. Her navy dress was tailored to perfection, her diamond studs subtle but deliberate. She moved like she owned the room, her stride practiced for maximum impact. At the podium, her smile was politician sharp. I'm honored to stand here with my father, she began. I thank my colleagues, mentors, and family, those who've supported me, especially through decisions requiring clarity and grace. No one here lets poor judgment derail progress. Her words, smooth as silk, cut deep, a veiled jab, aimed at me. I didn't flinch, just sipped flat soda, its bitterness matching the moment. The room erupted in applause. Robert clapped a beat longer, his face unreadable. Diane dabbed her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, Claire's initials, not mine. Then, a man in a crisp FBI dress uniform cut through the crowd toward my table. I knew him instantly, Jack Harper, 34, a former subordinate from Vanguard. He stopped, squared his shoulders, and said, loud enough for the room to hear, Director Pierce. It's an honor to see you again. Silence fell like a guillotine. My table mates froze. Forks mid-air. Claire's head snapped toward us. Robert's hands stalled mid-clap. Diane's wine glass tilted, nearly spilling. I met Jack's gaze. Gave a slight nod. Thank you, Agent Harper. His salute, precise and professional, echoed louder than Claire's speech. For one moment, I wasn't the family's shame. I was Director Pierce, saluted in a room that had forgotten me. Behind the auditorium's velvet curtain, Jack's face was grim, no trace of the rookie I'd trained. We've got a problem, Director, he said, voice low. Unauthorized access to witness safe. Originating from Cleveland's office. My stomach tightened. Witness safe was the encrypted spine of federal witness protection, untouchable. Or so we thought. A breach meant lives at risk, witnesses, families, operatives who'd vanished under our oath. Show me, I said. He handed me a tablet. Already unlocked. The logs showed an IP address tied to a government device in Cleveland's satellite office. The device owner, Claire Pierce. My breath didn't catch, but my mind raced. You sure? I asked. Jack's jaw tensed. 99%. But it gets worse. The access token belongs to Thomas Kane. Kane. The name hit like a blade. Claire had praised him publicly, calling him a pillar of integrity. At 45, he was a senior litigator, media savvy, leading a high-profile corruption case. I'd always sensed something staged in his polish. Why does Kane have witness-safe access? I asked. More to myself. Jack shook his head. That's what I'm digging into. If Claire's involved, she's either a pawn or in deeper than she knows. I looked at him. I'm staying. Family business. He gave a dry chuckle. Not technically a lie. I pocketed the tablet. Not yet. As I slipped back into the hall, Claire's eyes locked onto mine. Sharp and searching. Diane intercepted me, champagne in hand, her smile as artificial as the lighting. Funny someone remembered you did something, she said, her tone dripping with pity. I held her gaze. Not everyone forgets. Mom. I walked away, her silence trailing me like a shadow. But my mind was already elsewhere, mapping a threat far bigger than family drama. The dining room in my childhood home in Lakewood, Ohio, smelled of lemon polish and unspoken grudges. The table was set for a performance. Roast chicken, scalloped potatoes, and a bottle of Merlot none of us liked but kept for appearances. My father, Robert, 62, wore a smile that didn't reach his eyes. My mother, Diane, 60, chatted about church with a practiced warmth. My sister, Claire, 32, sat across from me, her gaze sharp enough to cut glass. I was 38, the outcast, invited back not for love but for scrutiny. Robert cleared his throat, sliding a thick envelope across the table. You don't have to hide anymore, Lauren, he said, voice heavy with accusation. We know what you've been doing. I opened it, my hands steady. Inside were forged witness-safe memos, doctored to paint me as a rogue agent manipulating identities for personal gain, a whistleblower turned traitor. Claire's voice was a blade. How long have you been following me? She yanked a health tracker from her wrist, the one I'd given her to monitor her safety, and threw it onto the table. This is your idea of protection? I was protecting you, I said, calm as stone, cleaning up what the system overlooks. Including you. Before she could reply, the lights went black. A deafening crash splintered the front door. 3 men in dark tactical gear stormed in. Rifles low but ready. Their masks hid their faces. But their intent was clear. One growled, pointing at me. She knows too much. Another glanced at my family. The rest? No longer useful. I moved with the motion, falling back off amygdala. My thumb found the panic node sewn into my blazer's cuff. A failsafe I'd hidden, knowing Claire might ditch the tracker. The signal pinged Jack Harper, my former Vanguard agent, triggering a geolocation beacon. The intruders didn't notice. One yanked me up, cold metal pressing against my skull. Diane screamed. Robert raised his hands. Claire stood frozen, her eyes wide but unreadable. You thought we wouldn't find you, Director Pierce? The leader sneered. Traitor to the cause. I gritted my teeth. I never joined your cause. He raised his rifle. Then, outside, signal jammers whined to a halt. Sirens wailed. Tactical lights flashed through the windows. My trap had sprung. Jack didn't call for standard backup. Trust in the bureau was thin. Instead, he rallied Maria Torres, 29, an encryption genius who could vanish between firewalls, and Daniel Park, 41, a former Navy SEAL who moved like a ghost. In an unmarked SUV speeding toward Lakewood, Maria scanned blueprints on her laptop. "What's the play?" she asked. Jack's voice was grim. "A network that knows us better than we know ourselves. Using a family as bait because they're clueless." In the basement, I was tied to a rusted post. The air thick with mold and the sharp tang of plastique. My wrists burned against military knots. My family, bound nearby, breathed shallow and fast. Robert, for once, had no words. The Veil's plan was surgical. Plant explosives. Stage a domestic extremist attack. Pin it on us with a fake manifesto. No questions. No survivors. One of the masked men leaned close. "You're the Vanguard op. I studied your missions. Then you vanished." I didn't blink. I didn't vanish. I was chosen to disappear. He smirked. "Not anymore." Jack's voice crackled through a subdermal receiver in my collar. "Evelyn. New intel. The mole's Victor Kane." My pulse spiked. Kane, 47, was a colleague I'd blocked from promotion years ago after he fudged evidence in a trafficking case. "He leaked your location," Jack continued. "Fed your father those fake files." It clicked. Kane weaponized trust. Turning my family against me. 12 hours, Jack said. "The house is wired to blow." I eyed the blinking light on my cuff. Not hope, an order. Begin. At 3:11 a.m., the basement was a tomb of darkness. I slid a blade from my boot's heel, cutting the ropes in 2 passes. I rolled toward the water heater, where I'd stashed a heat emitter to spoof motion sensors. Daniel breached the storm cellar, silencing the Veil's comms. Maria, from a van 3 blocks away, hacked the blueprints. 3 explosive nodes in a V pattern, she said. The Veil's signature. White wire, but cut central power first. "No time," I whispered, slicing the first node's wire with my left hand, still aching from a Seattle fracture. No boom. I was still breathing. Footsteps thundered downstairs. A man burst in, rifle raised. I'd swapped Diane's antique pistol for a Glock. Hidden under a floor tile. I fired low, hitting his thigh. He collapsed. I tore off his mask. Victor Kane. "Hello again," I said. He grunted. "You always thought you were better. That's why you burned me." I leaned closer. "You burned yourself. I just stopped you from dragging others down." He sneered. "The system doesn't want you." I whispered. "Then I'll build a new one." Claire knelt beside me, holding a control unit she'd swiped from Kane. "You don't have to do this alone," she said, her eyes clear. No longer the sister who outran my shadow but one standing beside me. I disarmed the final charge. Lights flickered on. Jack's voice. "We're in. Targets down. All clear." I stepped into the dawn. Blood on my sleeves. Breath ragged. Jack met me on the porch. "All safe," he said. I looked at the fading stars. "No," I replied. "Now it's safe to begin." 10 days later, I walked into a congressional hearing room on Capitol Hill. No armor, just truth. My nameplate read, Lauren Pierce. Director, FBI, Division 10-7. I didn't open with a war story. "Why do we assume silence is guilt?" I asked, my voice soft but sharp. "Why does perception trump truth?" The room stilled. I faced the oversight committee chair, the man who'd stripped my authority years ago. When the system buries someone, it doesn't need a trial, just a rumor. I laid it bare. Maria's decrypted files. Jack's chain of custody. Claire's testimony as second witness. Every bite, every whisper, verified. I didn't play the victim. I was part of that system. I said. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. That's on me. I proposed restructuring witness safe. Handing oversight to an independent civilian board. No politics. No compromises. Just accountability. Pushback came. As expected. Then I played the final card. A pin camera from Kane's office lamp, capturing his voice, his face. A cash deal tied to the Helix Foundation. A front for the Vale's money laundering. Marshals arrested him mid-hearing. He looked at me, defeated. You win this time. I didn't reply. He was done taking up space. Diane approached me in the hallway. No apology, just a crack in her armor. If you're what the system couldn't face. Maybe I've been blind too long. Robert said nothing but handed me a photo from my Justice Department swearing in. Now in a new frame engraved, Lauren Pierce. Never erased. Spring warmed a small Arizona town. The air carrying the weight of new beginnings. I stood on a high school gym stage, facing 130 graduates in oversized gowns. Their eyes bright with untested dreams. No script. Just one truth. Truth doesn't applaud you. It doesn't hand out medals. But it's the only thing standing when everything else falls. I didn't stay in DC. Didn't chase headlines or book deals. I became a mentor, teaching ethics and risk assessment to kids who thought justice was a movie plot. I told them it's built slowly, often alone. One day, Claire's email arrived. I'm not scared anymore. Attached was a photo of her speaking at a witness protection conference. Not as a pawn but a voice. I replied, I always believed in you. Now believe in yourself. At home, a sealed Vale file sat on my shelf, not a secret, but a reminder. Justice is a process, not a moment. I don't give speeches often, but sometimes, under Arizona's deep blue sky, I sit by my fence, alone with silence, not theirs, mine, and I'm not afraid of it.